So, Peter, what do you think is the nugget version of what transformational coaching is about?
Well, in the writing we've done, Nick, there's three kind of key elements. The first is about how do we do coaching that gets beyond focusing on performance, problems, behaviours, to really help the coachee look at the patterns that are driving their feelings, which are driving the behaviours, and creating the problems. So we're looking much more at how do we get a lasting transformational shift. The second element we talk about is from the work that you and I did to look at some of the common patterns that happen in supervision. We discovered that one of the things that people often bring is talk about their supervisee, the coach, had created a marvellous session in which there had been a great bit of insight and a plan, but then they would come to supervision and say that the only problem is that the person didn't follow through.
Yeah.
And then they would blame the client. They'd say, oh, they weren't courageous enough, they weren't committed, rather than looking at what needs to shift around the coaching. And that led us, reflecting on that, to come up with a phrase: if the shift hasn't happened in the room, it isn't going to happen outside the room. And how do we realise that in coaching, just creating great insight and an action plan is not enough? We need an embodied shift in the room. So the whole development that you and I have done together around creating the fast forward rehearsal, taking the insight, taking the new pattern and embodying it so that our body carries a new habit into practice. And I think the third element is the one around how do we help look at the dominant action logic, as Bill Torbert refers to it as, our fundamental consciousness, which may have been absolutely adequate for us when we were a functional leader, but now we become a corporate leader. The technical expert way of thinking and being in the world no longer works. So how do we help that transition to a whole new way of seeing the world and being in the world? And so those three elements come together in what we now call transformational coaching.